Happy President's Day, everybody. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth the Motor City Madmouth. We have a really special guest. And when I say special guest, I mean a special guest. Known this guy for a while on Facebook. He talks about NHL expansion. What better way than to go out there and talk about this topic with a guy that talks very publicly about it. And the man I'm talking to is a man on the right named Cliff Neal. First of all, Cliff, welcome to the big show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. First of all, I want you to give the audience a background about what you do and so forth.
Well, right now I'm a professor at Towson University in the Mass Communication Department. I have 16 years under my belt in television news, all behind the scenes, editing, videography, satellites. So I produced so many things. It's in the studio, all behind the scenes, and all those stories you see, I've put a lot of those together, working hand in hand with a lot of people. So, but now I'm teaching, and that's so my gig. That's what I'm supposed to do, because I was the guy who was teaching everybody when I was in the field. So yeah, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing for the rest of my life. This is great. I love going to work every day.
Did I hear you correctly? You said Towson University?
Yes, in Maryland.
Right, Baltimore area?
Yeah, we're right next to it, yeah.
Oh, wow, very good. So we have a professor out at Towson University. By this year's students will know you're on the big show. So with that said, we're going to talk about the Four Nations tournament. And I'll just give everybody on the audience a little bit of an update. On Saturday night, the United States defeated Canada 3-1. Big win for the Americans. Today, Canada bounced back to beat Finland 5-3. USA is going to face Sweden tonight at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And on Thursday night, the stage is set for the rematch, USA versus Canada, 8 p.m. Eastern time on ABC. What are your thoughts about the Four Nations tournament?
Well, it's been a great tournament to watch. That first game with Canada and Sweden, that was a real good game. It looked like Canada was going to take it over. And then Sweden came back to say not so fast, but then Canada came back in the end with the goal in. It was a really good game. That first goal, like everyone said, was crazy. The power play goal on McKinnon from McDavid and Crosby. I'm like, that's just not right. But overall, it's been a great experience. It was great watching the U.S. The first game, they beat Finland pretty handily. They don't seem to have their full Finland doesn't seem to have their full slot of players, so they're been kind of struggling. And they took care of business there, and they had a real great game against Canada. They were up 2-1 most of that game, and then at the end they were able to put the empty netter in. And I've seen real good things. Hellebuck's looking real good, Canada just recently won, so we got the final again. They might be looking for a little revenge. They might be also be thinking about another goalie. I'm not sure. It's probably going to be Jordan Bennington, but we got to see. But that might just be social media, the fans getting all upset. But we'll see.
All right. Well, Connor Hellebuck, you're right. He's been a nice story for the United States team. And Connor McDavid is just a big story in the NHL anyways. Coming off a 3-game suspension where I thought the NHL made an example out of him when they gave him that, but that'll be for another conversation. On to the business at hand right now is NHL expansion. I've always had a thought process in mind that should Quebec City ever get another team, it'll be via relocation with the Winnipeg Jets. Trading one Canadian city for another. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to ask you, what do you have against this great city of Winnipeg? Why would you want to do that to them twice? They've already lost one team, and I was thrilled when they brought it back. I know their arena is smaller, but that's what they decided to do, go with that, with about 12 or 13,000 seat. And I think the economy brought the ticket sales down a little bit, but Winnipeg's one of the best teams in the league this year. Now, that might change. That might change a little bit with the way the salary cap's going to go up. But that's not something I want to see. I'd rather just have an expansion team. Honestly, for the longest time, with that, I've been wanting Quebec, and I know you're from South Florida, but for a real long time, the Panthers, until recently, were not doing very well and seemed to be playing games with attendance, and I don't know what was going on, but now I'm not. That's the team I wanted to go to Quebec, but now no. Now they've earned, obviously they've earned their spot, but no, I'm not for Winnipeg going to Quebec at all. I don't want to do that twice to Winnipeg.
Well, that's why I have you on the show, because I have a feeling this is one of the shows where we're both going to differ on a couple of things. And I really like that, because our goal here is to get hockey fans thinking. The only reason why I brought that up, though, Cliff, is that I understand Winnipeg's numbers are not very high attendance-wise, small market. And when you talk about Quebec City, the Nordiques possibly coming back, that's the only connection I can make to it. So I think it'll come down to the attendance figures. If Winnipeg could draw much more, I don't know what they're drawing, 15, 16,000 a game at last I had heard.
Is their arena that big? Have they expanded it?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Now, when you look at the fact that if there's a team that would go, you take one from one part of Canada over to another part, and this one seems like more of a natural fit. Again, this show is exactly designed what it does when you and I talk on Facebook. We're going to go back and forth a lot. I like the fact that people, when they come on in the chat room, will be able to interact with us, but that's exactly why you're on here, my friend, that we're going to have different opinions, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, I can understand not doing it to Winnipeg twice. I think it all comes down to attendance figures. We'll see, but I know Quebec is hungry, and I can't see the NHL expanding into yet another Canadian city when there's suitable American cities to be had, which transitions me over to my next two. Milwaukee, do you think that they deserve a team?
Oh, absolutely. I always kind of say Wisconsin, and
Okay.
I've recently came up with a four stage expansion plan to go from the 32 teams to the 36, and I put in Wisconsin because it's probably going to be Milwaukee, but I've never been to Madison, Wisconsin. I've never been to Wisconsin, period. I don't know if Madison, Wisconsin could handle the team. In my mindset, I think of Madison, Wisconsin like Columbus, Ohio. I don't know, but that's my ignorance. I have no clue. So I want to keep options open for the state of Wisconsin. It is absolutely insane that they don't have a hockey team, an NHL hockey team. They're in the North. 1, 2, they have every other major league sport. Okay. Also, they have snow. They have ice. They are super hockey crazy. And for the University of Wisconsin Badgers, I've never understood why they don't have an NHL team. I've heard excuses of like, oh, Chicago doesn't want to have that. It's going to step on their turf. And I'm like, but they have all those same things. It doesn't make sense to me. They have all the same. They have all the other major league teams, and it just doesn't make sense. I don't know. Absolutely, Wisconsin, absolutely.
Eddie, there's no question that Winnipeg fans are passionate. I agree with you with 9 million exclamation points on that. I just hope that they can support it with big enough attendance numbers to warrant keeping the team in Winnipeg. And for a lot of people that realize the history in Winnipeg with the Jets and Bobby Hall, you certainly have a good tradition when it comes to the Winnipeg Jets and Bobby Hall, the Golden Jet. As for any of the other NHL teams, well, I'm going to defer that over to you, Cliff. Do you think could any of the other NHL teams move?
As of right now, could maybe. I hear rumblings of Ottawa sometimes, but I don't know about that. People sometimes say Columbus, but I don't think they're going anywhere. I'm not really sure with who could move right now. The last time, like I said, was Florida, and they're not going anywhere now. They've got good management. They've turned it totally around. They've earned their spot. I can't even. Maybe Nashville. Maybe that might be something, but I don't know their numbers. They haven't been doing so well recently, but that's just a shot in the dark.
Well, that's fair enough. Okay. All right. Let's focus our attention to Kansas City. Once upon a time, you had the Kansas City Scouts. Problem was they had the Kemp Arena, not a really good arena, but I know they were brand new, state-of-the-art arena. I definitely feel in my mind Kansas City's right for a new team. I think they can definitely go out there and get one, and you have a rivalry across I-70 with the St. Louis Blues. So let's focus our attention to Kansas City. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's something that Kansas City is a market. Yeah, it didn't work 50 years ago. Different time, different. It's a different time. Things have changed dramatically. They did, but it was, I believe, the Sprint Center. I don't know what they call it now. You know how they're changing names of arenas constantly. So forgive me if I don't have the right sponsor name on there.
Oh, don't worry
They
about
built
they
that.
change all the time anyway, so I wouldn't hold that against you.
Yeah, well, it's like they built that, and they would always have preseason games, and they would sell out, and I think they fit right in. That's another team I've said under my four stage expansion. That's the last one. It's like, hey, let's give Kansas City a chance because their history of Kansas City. When Nashville was struggling and Pittsburgh was trying to get an arena, and I'm an Islanders fan, so I remember when they even went to Kansas City to check out the arena. It seemed like all these teams would go out there, but they were just playing games, and I didn't think that was really quite fair for them. I want to give them the shot at getting a team again because it's been a very long time since the early '70s, and they would always do real well in those preseason games. And like you said, they already have a built-in rivalry with the Blues, so I'd definitely be up for Kansas City being part of that.
Right. Candy Ubbling in the chat room. Milwaukee has the Milwaukee Admirals. Also, I want to point out the Fiserv Forum is definitely a suitable building for an NHL team. A rivalry in Milwaukee versus Chicago is an automatic I-94 rivalry. Candy's really on target with this one. You got to think about the Cubs and the Brewers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like it's they already have those rivalries with Chicago, Wisconsin, and Minnesota with college hockey.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's insane. There's no reason why Wisconsin shouldn't have a hockey team. It should have been a hockey team there for decades and decades. It just doesn't make sense. And like I said, I keep hearing rumors that Chicago doesn't like it. And I guess they have sway. They're an original six. Sometimes that stuff has an impact. So
I think Milwaukee and Chicago is something that has to happen. Larry from Detroit, Nationals eyeing the four big sports. They're not letting one go. No, they shouldn't be. I mean, think of the reality that Nashville is a great sports city. They host big events such as the NFL draft. And when it comes to now, they have their Nashville New Year's Eve party. So you're right. I mean, I think Nashville is a sleeping giant, Larry, when it comes to sports towns. It really is. Once upon a time, they didn't. But when you have the Titans, and you have the Nashville Sounds who really support real well in AAA. I think that if they do end up getting an expansion, if there's an expansion in baseball, Nashville to me is obviously is a no-brainer. They already have their infrastructure. And I saw a Nashville Sounds game. You're talking about a AAA game, and they know how to put 10, 12,000 bodies in that stadium. So Nashville's inevitable, I think, for Major League Baseball. You got the NFL and the NHL. Nashville Predators are doing well. There was a time when they weren't doing well, but Barry Trotz is the general manager, and there's no reason to think that anything will go wrong in Nashville. Larry, you nailed that one dead on. Thanks a lot for contributing tonight. All right, now we're going to go to a station break in a moment, but what about Atlanta? Do they deserve a third chance?
No, just no, absolutely not. Stop the insanity. I don't know if you remember the old 90s infomercial, Susan Powder, Stop the Insanity. It failed twice. Nobody went. People are saying silly things like, oh, we're going to put it over in this area and it's going to work. Yeah, we still heard that with Arizona. Oh, if we just move it here, hockey's going to work in Arizona. No, do not do that. It's the whole insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and over, expecting a different result. People don't like it there. They don't care. Give them an AHL team. Let them be like Tampa's affiliate. That Tampa's affiliate's in Syracuse now, so it would be an easier thing from them. Absolutely not. I care about where these teams go. I care about the league, and I care about the game itself, and that would not be good for the league.
Okay, I can appreciate that. The only thing they're talking about there, hello, Will Vogel, glad to have you back. And Will, just I don't know if Ralph Williams contacted you at all, but there definitely is a spot for you on Sports Wrap on Saturday. So keep that in mind. Will like to bring it back at some point, and if you have Saturdays in the morning from 9 to 10, then we'll love to have you on. We appreciate your candid personality. Eddie Prather says isn't a strong sports town, no doubt about it, but they're always going to be talked about because of the major market and the only chance of prayer they have. Cliff, I said prayer. Okay, so let's not have a heart attack over there because your students need you over at Towson University. Is the fact that they put it in the suburbs. That's the only shot. They're never going to make it work in downtown. But I'm going to tell you one thing we are going to do. We're going to go to a station break with Candy Ebley. Thank you very much, Candy.
You're listening to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you see that red subscribe button, hit it like us, share us. The South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. It talks about Scott's 45 years in the industry and how it has changed. Old school media meets new school media. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a link to our merchandise store and a plethora of all kinds of great content. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to be a guest on a show, you can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And if you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. Back to you, Scott.
Well done, Candy. All right, we're going to go to one more city. And if you have any other ones you want to mention, then we're going to go to your 36-team Division 16. Now, I'm really curious to see what you have to say about this one. I really, really am.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Houston Aeros. Once upon a time, they had a guy like Gordie Howe. You ever heard of Mr. Hockey?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you like to see the Houston Aeros back?
Yeah, any Houston team. If the Houston Aeros, yeah, great. That's my first team I have set to become an expansion team. They're big enough. They have the market. I'm willing to give them a chance. I think it could work. There's a possible rivalry with Dallas there already. I'm willing to give it a shot and see what happens. I think they did pretty well when they were the Houston Aeros there. They don't have a team there really right now in the AHL, but I definitely think I'm willing to give them a shot there.
All right, Joshua, no doubt about it. We talked about earlier in the show. There's no question the finals will definitely be awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing that as well as that. Yeah, Cliff, there's no doubt this is a no-brainer. Bring back the Houston Aeros rivaling the Dallas Stars. You had that Dallas-Houston rivalry in Texas. Nothing could be more natural than that. And, of course, like I said, the Houston Aeros have that tradition with Gordie Howe. I alluded to it earlier in the show with Winnipeg Jets and Bobby Hull, the Golden Jet, Mr. Hockey, two WHA teams that will be revived and alone in the NHL. Great stuff. Mm-hmm. All right, Clip, any other expansion suggestions?
Houston, Kansas City, Wisconsin, and Quebec. Quebec is the only other one. We talked about Quebec already. Those are the four I think they should try to go for. I hear Portland, and of course you have some Canadian fans out there say, "Oh, put a team in Saskatoon or Saskatchewan." I'm like, yeah, that's no disrespect to them, but I just don't see them getting an NHL team. I've heard Portland here and there. I don't know. I think I can't really think of any others. You have something in mind?
No, I think Portland's a stretch. I think you have the Seattle-Vancouver rivalry. I don't see Portland getting in the mix. I think the four teams that we've really narrowed it in on are the four that I would key on for sure. I mean, I gave you the ones I think Quebec City should get another team, but does it get one at the expense of another American team? I don't know. I know the Arizona Coyotes are dead. Mm-hmm. Period. Unless Matt Ispia finds a way to get one there, but I'm not holding my breath. They had 25 years. It was a bad situation with the Winnipeg Jets leaving there. That was doomed to fail to begin with. I saw a game at the old America West Arena, and that was the biggest joke I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. When you had one side of the rink obstructed because of the way the building was not suited for having an NHL team. They built a stadium in Glendale, which I thought was a great rink, Gila River Arena. And I actually lived in Arizona, Cliff, at the time. And they wanted to build one in Scottsdale. All of that fell through. So everything that happened in Arizona warranted the fact that they're only a 3-market team. It's just too bad the Coyotes were doomed at the beginning, let alone at the expense of the Winnipeg Jets.
Hmm. Oh,
And then when you look at the hypotheticals on this, okay, if you keep the original Winnipeg Jets, you keep the original logo, then you get Quebec City in the first place without having to relocate them. Boy, I love connecting the dots as we go ahead and turn our heads. All right, let's talk about Cliff's 36 team, 6th division, 6th division NHL. We got sixes are wild, man. So
yeah,
really.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
Go ahead, break it down for me.
Okay. Am I able to present something here, or
I'm not sure how to do that, Candy. Unless he can do it, I'm not sure how that would work.
I've got a JPEG, a couple of JPEGs that I made that are 1920 by 1080.
You can if you hit present bottom and then share screen or whatever screen you want.
Okay. Okay, share screen.
I would rather do that way.
Okay.
I can see it visually myself.
All right. Window. Okay. All right. Preview. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to go through your thing here. It's lost permission to capture my screen. All right. I'm sorry. I don't seem to be able to bring that up because I don't know.
All right.
No, do you? All right. I see my things. I don't know how to share them with you though. It says it's lost permission to capture my screen. All right. So, all right. Yeah. So I apparently can't share it with you. But all right. So basically, what I'm thinking is, I'll kind of just tell you, it's 4 years or 4 stages. Basically, the first year, all we're doing is adding a Houston to the Central. Okay. That'd be our stage 1, just adding Houston to the Central. Year 2, that's where it gets a little wild. All right, it gets a little wild there. I bring back Quebec, and they go into the Atlantic. I then take Florida and Tampa, put them in the Metro, and then take Columbus and put them in the Atlantic. I've always felt that Columbus being in the Atlantic made much more sense than being in the Metropolitan, because they're closer to a lot of the other teams in that division. And then so that would be year 2. Year 3 is where we see Wisconsin come in. Okay, Wisconsin would then go to the Central. Utah would go to the Pacific. It's the furthest most west team. Okay. So you've got, in those 3 years, you've got 35 of the 36. Okay. And then we've got, that would be 3. So now we got to get to 4. In this, we're going to do 6 divisions. Okay. Got 6 divisions. All right.
All right.
Division A would be the Isles, Rangers, Devils, Flyers, Caps, and Pens. Division B would be the Bruins, the Canadiens, the Leafs, the Senators, the Red Wings, and the Nordiques. Division C, totally new division. Sabres, Columbus, Carolina, Florida, Tampa, and Nashville. I know they're in the Central, but they're still a South team. Division D would be the Blackhawks, the Wild, the Blues, the Winnipeg Jets, Wisconsin, and then finally the Kansas City expansion team. Division E would be Dallas, Colorado, Edmonton, Calgary, Utah, Houston. And then Division F would be the Ducks, Sharks, Kings, Canucks, Knights, and Kraken.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, I see you with the Red Wings no longer in the same division with the Lightning and the Panthers. Is that correct?
I'm moving them to that third division, Division C. They go with Carolina, Columbus, Buffalo, and Nashville South. So I mean, it still can be worked there. And then you don't really have to worry about Florida and Tampa not going up to Canada. The furthest most they go up to is Buffalo. In that case, so they're not having those Canadian games that they have to do. So it works from that standpoint too. So it's a little different, I know, but it retains a lot of the same things, a lot of the same rivalries. But yeah, so it's and I even figured out the schedule.
Wow.
It would be an 80 game schedule. Play 20 games against your intra-divisional rivals. That'd be 5 teams that you play against, 4 games apiece.
Right.
Intra-conference games, the 2 other divisions in your conference, 24, 1 home, 1 away, and then inter-conference games, 18 teams there, 2 games apiece, 1 home, 1 away, it's 36. You had 20, 24, and 36, you got 80 games.
Interesting. I like this. I actually find this interesting. What really makes it intriguing for me is you got 6 divisions, right? I believe the NFL has 6 divisions too, don't they?
They have 8.
Oh, they have 8. Okay.
They have 4 teams in each division.
That's right. Okay. Well, 6, 8, whatever. But this 6 division thing intrigues me with the NHL. The fact that you keep the rivalries and you create new ones. So I'm kind of intrigued by it. We'll see how it plays out as time goes on. We're certainly going to be bringing you on the Wednesday night edition of the Sports Exchange as well. What I like about it is we'll introduce you to a different audience a little bit later at night, and we'll incorporate this topic with more and more of our other experts as well on the Sports Exchange that night. So really good stuff. That's why I brought you on here, because again, as for you, those of you just joining us right now, Cliff is the type of guy that will get you to think, and he will draw you into a debate like he has so many times. And now I have a chance to get this guy on the air, and he can explain where his mindset is. But when you think about it, we do agree on a lot of the markets. The only thing that we disagree on is how Quebec will get a team. But that's not bad. It really isn't. I mean, the Utah Hockey Club will be interesting to see what final name they come up with. So as we get ready to wrap up the show, Cliff, there is one thing I'm really curious about. What are your thoughts about the 4 Nations tournament? And then not only that, do you think that this blows away the NBA All-Star format? Because the NBA players have not taken this game seriously at all. And now they're in such disarray with it. Magic Johnson doesn't even show up for this weekend.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I love international play. Heck, I got into hockey 1980 Miracle on Ice. That's my first introduction to hockey. I was all of 8 years old, and it has completely impacted my life. Heck, I have all these things from that. It's the games have been great. I don't know if they could do it all the time. I just think it's something you can do every so often. But yeah, I'm not a big basketball fan, and I'm among the guys who like. I love hockey so much, but as you know, a lot of people don't like hockey, and they're like, "Oh, you like hockey?" It's like you're saying, "Oh, I like to kick puppies." I'm like, it's like, "Oh, they fight." I'm like, "Come on." But yeah, so compared to the NBA, I'm like, a lot of the All-Star games aren't taken seriously at all. I do like this because there is something to be to fight for. They're really working hard. Heck, they had 3 fights in about 9 seconds in the other game. You never see that in any kind of All-Star game. I was surprised they were allowed to fight. So, but yeah, it's not even close. I mean, the hockey, it's just the hockey tournament has been absolutely great. I'm looking forward to the finals against Canada.
Yeah, Joshua Dorr went out there and mentioned earlier. We'll put that comment back on the screen. How about the USA versus Canada finals? Is going to be awesome. No question about it, Josh. You really nailed that one dead on. So, also, I should point out that the NHL players will be permitted to play in the 2026 Olympics. So, international play when it comes to the NHL is unbelievable. It goes back to the 1972 series when Team Canada took on Russia. It was just unbelievable. When you do some name dropping in there, I can get into Phil Esposito, Kent Dryden, Bobby Orr, and the rest of them, and it's just unbelievable. So I think the hockey players are the ones that take these games way more seriously, let alone the fact that you just mentioned 3 fights in the first 9 seconds. It doesn't get any better than that. Let me see an NBA player engaging in any elbows, and they're going to think that it's beyond their pay grade. Hockey players may not have teeth, but they have, they need a lot more dental work. But I'm going to tell you, these guys are the most passionate, underpaid professionals in any sport for sure. And let's go to Eddie for those first 9 seconds between Canada and USA. The first game was so slap shot. Like, boy, Eddie, you couldn't be more accurate than that. What do you think about his analogy, slap shot?
I thought that was absolutely spot on. I'm like, fight after fight after. I'm like, what am I looking at here? Yeah, it's such a great movie, but very, very brutal. Yeah, it was that was great to watch that action. It's like, oh, it's Matthew Tkachuk. And then I was watching again, and my wife was like, I thought he was in the penalty box. I'm like, no, it's his brother. They're playing together. Yeah, so that was, and then they had the fight after that, and it was just, you saw the intensity, you saw what they were going at. They're going at it, and the whole game they were fighting real hard. Good clean checks, good clean fun, and that's what hockey should be. That's watching the game is just an absolute joy, and the power, the grace, the skill that's shown on there, and to be able to do it as for your country. And I'm real excited because this year we have a really good mix of players. They've always had good teams, but this one we have real superstars like Austin Matthews and Jack Eichel, and Hellebuck's the best goalie in the league right now. So this has been an exciting time to see them actually get over the hump, because they always kind of like get to the gold medal game, or they get third, but they never seem to beat, like, usually Canada. But I think this might, if they do what they can do, what they showed last game, I think they're going to finally get over the hump and take it.
Great question, and you can answer this one, Cliff, if you like. What do you think of bringing the 3-2-1 point system of the Four Nations face-off to the NHL?
I'm interested in it. I'm willing to give it a shot, but I have to see how it affects the point totals, how it affects things. Is it going to like make it worse, like with how many points it might get, or the competition might lessen? I don't know. I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm willing to give it a shot, see how it works. If it works, great. The one thing I absolutely want in there is a 10-minute overtime. I've been asking for a 10-minute overtime for over a dozen years now. 10-minute overtime, because 5 minutes, and especially now with the 3-on-3, it's like, it's fun, it's exciting, but in 5 minutes, it's like the guys can hold on to the puck for an inordinate amount of time sometimes, and at least, an extra 10. And then how often would they? I don't think they'd get to the shootout all that often, honestly.
Well, it's funny how you mentioned 10-minute overtime. I was about to ask you that, but you fell into the GMTA category called Great Minds Think Alike. I'm all for it, for sure. Oh, I think 10-minute overtime is great. And yeah, excuse me, and hockey players don't care about 10-minute overtime. Again, they're the most passionate, hardworking players I've ever seen. These guys are unbelievable. 10-minute overtime is great. Keep the shootout. You earn your way to that shootout after the 10-minute overtime. More power to you. That's one hard. These guys just want to win games. They want to win rings. So I'll end it on this note. Do you feel that the NHL playoffs are better than any other playoffs in all the 4 major sports?
It's no doubt. I mean, it's like the intensity of every round. 7-game series, going for the Stanley Cup. They have the most awesome trophy on the planet. All right. I'm very biased here. Okay. It's not even close of all the names, and you can see the passion. You can see guys are willing to just be hurt. I remember a long time ago, I don't know if you remember Darryl Sador, former Dallas star, Darryl Sador. He got hurt. He blew part of his ACL or something like that. And he is trying to scrape and trying to get into the play. You don't get that with any of the rest of those sports. They're all, hey, I like football. I'm a big baseball fan, not such a big basketball fan. but it's not even close. The intensity, how much they have to go through, the rounds, it's so just so powerful, so exhausting for those guys. And when their season's over, they feel it. They need the rest. They absolutely need the rest.
Well, let alone the fact when you see those 3, 4, 5 overtime games, talk about fatigue. That's it. There's no doubt. But I'll tell you, I think the best thing I like about the NHL playoffs is when the teams lose, they would shake each other's hands. A handshake to me is the most classy sportsmanship thing that you can ever have. And I think that, to me, that I don't think you don't really see that in a lot of other sports. I'm not going to make a big deal about booing the national anthem of this 4 nations because I understand the logistics behind it. I'm not going to do that because we're not a political show. But the fact of the matter is that NHL expansion is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. 36 would probably be the right amount, I think. Be really, and then relocation probably factors into it at some point, depending on how teams succeed or don't succeed. So, any closing thoughts about the topic at all, Cliff?
I'm just kind of like what you were saying there too. Is I for hockey, for me, I consider it like they're modern day Knights of the Round Table, going for hockey's holy grail, the holy grail. And they give absolutely everything they have every time. Watching the game is just an absolute joy, the power, all of it. And we'll see what happens with expansion. I'm not thrilled because we hear the Arizona and Atlanta, and we know the powers that be, and I'm not a big fan of the commissioner. But we have to see. We don't know. It's just game on. Let's go watch that the finals on USA versus Canada. Another great game. And prove that hockey is by far the best game out there.
All right, Katie, one more station break. Cliff will give it. Let everybody know how they can get a hold of him. If you find him on Facebook, you have to interact with this guy because he makes some unbelievable points, and he's certainly piqued my interest, and he's done a fine job with his opening act here on the Motor City Mad Mouse Show.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Katie.
You're listening to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you see that red subscribe button, hit it, like us, share us with all your friends and family. Monday nights. Tonight we're talking hockey right now, but then following the show will be baseball. Tomorrow night is football inside the pigskin. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you never know what we're going to be talking about, so stay tuned to find out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. But the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Mad Mouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media business, how it has changed, old school media versus new school media. There's some great pictures in there, including a young Scott with a young Muhammad Ali, and I think there's even a Gordie Howe picture in there. So get the book, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Apple, and Google Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is also a plethora of lots of other great content and a merchandise store there as well. If you want to be a guest or have show ideas, email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And if you want to sponsor a show or advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you missed any of that, it's been scrolling on the bottom, or just hit the replay button and rewind and listen to it again. Thanks, Scott.
All right, Cliff, why don't you let everybody know how they get a hold of you? I want to build your Facebook following so they can hear your expansion stuff. I think it's great.
Well, I don't really have it's just me. It's just, I was doing a blog a while ago. It's just me, Cliff Neal. That's what I go by. I don't have any other alternate stuff. I don't have all that. So it's just me. So look at my name, 2 L's. That's me.
There you go. Okay. That's him. He's on the Motor City Man Mouth tonight show, talking about NHL expansion, relocation, whatever you want to call it. So meanwhile, at the top of the hour, we're going to have 108 Stitches baseball talk. I'll be on there with Mark Meriday, Eric Katz, and Trent Clark. So we're going to have a good time talking baseball. But meanwhile, what a great way to kick off our week of programming tonight, having Cliff on. And Cliff, I'm looking forward to bringing you back on the Wednesday night edition of the Sports Exchange, talk about hockey, this topic, and anything else you can bring to the table. But meanwhile, on behalf of, so thank you very much for joining us, Cliff. You've been
Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic, much appreciated, and I enjoy the camaraderie that we have, and look forward to seeing you when we get up to the greater Maryland area. And if you want to show us around, great. If you don't, that's okay. It doesn't matter.
I don't know. We'll hook up. We'll hook up.
Oh, I look forward to it. But meanwhile, on behalf of Cliff Neal, my name is Scott Morgan, off the Motor City Mad Mouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Motor City Mad Mouth Show. Once again, at the top of the hour, 108 inches baseball talk. Take care, everybody. We have a lot of great programming lining up this week. Have a good night, everybody. See you at the top of the hour.